Hi, good morning, and thank you for tuning in today, and welcome to today's session. Today, we're going to talk about something very important for all of us to understand how we can give something without any selfishness, and what are the natural things that we do have around us, who is always giving without any selfish motives. And what is the difference between those and as a human being, what can we do better instead of always thinking about me, myself, and everything about me. So let's try to understand a couple of things, and I hope you connect too. At the end of this video, I want you to understand that we as a humans are the only species that being very selfish in many aspects. And the day you realize that you too can contribute and you can do whatever the things that you have, you too can contribute to the people around you, to the society around you, for our natural resources, not only in terms of our wealth. And there are many things that we can do, but being a human being, understanding some natural things that which is always done without expecting anything, how can we contribute as a human being, being the highest regarded as species in the eye of the God? Now let's try to understand. Let's take a river, for instance. You know, a river flows constantly, but it never takes a sip of water to taste itself. It always flows effortlessly and helps on the way to the people around in terms of a drinking, in terms of a farming, so on and so forth, before it reaches to the sea. Now that's a wonderful lesson that we can take from the flowing rivers. A second example could be a tree. Now imagine the tree, whichever the form it may take, different plants, different fruits, different big, gigantic trees. In the farm, they give a lot of shade to the many people around, though they are staying in a hot sun. That's one way to look at it. And the second important thing is that it never tastes its own fruits. It is always in the form of giving to the others. Banana tree never tastes bananas. So does apple, so does grapes, so it's always in the form of giving. Now I can say it's just a part of the nature and you can take it for granted and think in that way. But why don't you think another way? Does any time the tree eats its own fruit is something that we really need to ask. And we, being as a human being, what can you do? Because you can think and act and do something with your own accord. You see? But though tree has its consciousness, but its nature is all about giving in many forms. We're not even getting into the air we breathe. But say let's stick to the fruits, which it never eats its own fruit and it never takes its own shade, even though it's staying in the sun. The other example of the cows and bulls. The cow never tastes its own milk. Have you ever thought about that? Cows, of course, it's for its calves, which we always take it for granted, and then we give a little bit to the calf and more we take it for humanity. Okay, maybe the God gave this in the process for us to give us in terms of nutrition, proteins, or what else you may name it. But cow never tastes its own milk. Bulls always work, at least in the olden days, was always used for the farming. So that's why they are very heavy and strength, so that it can give you the food in the form of farming, which a farmer can go and work on it with the help of the bulls. So the bulls and cows are always regarded as a highly supportive towards the humanity. If you look back in ancient histories, so on and so forth, before all this technology which we are using at this point of time for the farming, so that is something that you can always think. Cow never drinks its own milk. Bull never eats all the crops which we as a humans created, because it's only in the form of supporting. I think sometime back I made these videos also about sun and moon. Now imagine, there are two important things I wanted to say about sun and moon. Sun is always giving the heat for us to sustain life and living things in this planet Earth. Imagine there is no sun and moon, which is close to whatever the scientific study says, that wherever the distance we stay from the sun and moon is a perfect place where the living beings can evolve. Now that's okay, that's the part of which creation, a creator who had put that in place, that's a different story altogether. But imagine the sun and moon you don't see for a year or 2 years, absolutely zero. And pretty much none of our life forms will exist. So the sun and moon are effortlessly giving day in and day out without expecting anything from humans. Now, it's not the purpose, of course, of the sun and moon, and they have their bigger purposes. But we can look at, you know, this is the two closest planets that we can see every day, and we can look at sun and moon as much as you can, whenever you can, and say thank you for everything what they give us in order for us to sustain a life and living thing in this planet. Now, as I said again, think about a house which you are living in. It stays under the sun, but it always gives you a comfort for us to live a comfortable life. So does the trees, in the form of air. The air which, imagine there is not even a single tree in this planet Earth, and where do you get the air? Okay, you can again go back, and this is all the natural processes we are already having set by creation, the creator. But there are many things you can be thankful, and all these things, think about a tree, think about air, think about water, think about sea life, and the water which sustains the entire planet as well. Now, all this has something in common. This is what I want you to understand, that it's always in the form of giving without any selfishness, giving to the planet, and in order for us to sustain. And who is sustaining you? Other than the human beings, there are millions of species which effortlessly lives in this place, and which each and everything contributes to each and everything. Now that may sound a little bit awkward, but it's only the human species, the human being, are in the form of only destructing others for their survival. And if you just think about for a second that there are so many natural things that we're taking for granted, and the second important, there is so many natural resources which is giving for us to sustain a life effortlessly, and we as a human beings, as the only species, go back to destructing, killing animals, killing trees, cutting down the water, whatever the resources what we may have, in order for our selfish motives in terms of industrialization and so on and so forth, to live this limited life for your life, and grabbing as much as you can, even though you don't need it, So what can you observe from these simple small examples which we come across day in and day out, and what can you do to give back? Because we as a human, imagine a bird, imagine a tree, imagine a river, imagine a sun, imagine a moon. They're not living for themselves. They're always giving to somebody else. And many, it's not only the humans survive through the water, there are many other species. How we as a human being, whom we can think, act, and can take decisions on things we can or we cannot do, and how many things can we contribute to the same planet for a betterment of many other lives, if you just cautiously think that what can you give back being in this human form? Just because instead of only destructing in many ways. So that is something that I want you to take out of this video and give yourself a thought. When you go out in nature and give yourself a thought about all the things that we discussed. These are the small things, and then if you go out to the nature, there are many things strikes your own heart, and you will be in awe, like the beauty of this creation, beauty of the people around you, beauty of the nature around you, and then how each and every small living thing works towards to get better of this wonderful nature, which is created by God and the Creator Himself in the blink of an eye. But we, as a responsibility, as a human being, to give back as much as you have, in whichever form you may can, in the benefit of the others, without being selfish and doing everything for your own motives. This doesn't gonna last anyways, because everyone has a limited life and you're gonna eventually go away. And what is the purpose of you being here and living for yourself, taking all the things which came along in a natural process, and you're nothing but a stealer rather than keeping everything for yourself doesn't really make you live life alive. So that is something that I wanted to take out of this video. I hope that helps, and you give yourself a thought anytime you take your natural walks for you to get better and for you to feel better. The more you give, the more you will get alive. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.